Hi guys, welcome back. My favorite algebra students. We are talking today about order of operations. Just like that last couple of lessons, we've been talking about order of operations and how it applies. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, like we've talked about. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and meaning multiplication and division are on the same line, addition and subtraction are on the same line. The other thing we're going to talk about are some multiple symbols of inclusion. You'll see on this lesson, it says multiple symbols of inclusion. Let's see if I can get my book out of here. There we go. Okay, so the multiple symbols of inclusion are, this changes depending on the books that you're going to use. Sometimes some books just keep using repetitive parentheses. So something like this, 7 plus 3 is in parentheses, plus 9. And then we've got those big parentheses. So we got those double parentheses. Some do that. Saxon, however, is different. And we use a couple of things called brackets and braces. So we have 7 plus 3. So since I've already used parentheses, if I want to enclose another operation, I'm going to use these brackets. Brackets. Okay, now let's say I want to enclose a third operation. We're going to use what are called braces, and I swear I need to do an entire lesson on just how to draw those. I'm so sorry, because I cannot draw it on that side. That side's always really weird. I can do on that side. Anyway, these are called braces. So this is a brace. That guy right there. This is a bracket. That is a P, not a B. I don't know what I'm doing. Bracket. And then you're all familiar with parentheses. So you're going to see those over and over again. It's just like a fancy form of parentheses. Okay, so let's take a peek at some of these problems. And while I'm doing this, I have to pause because my dog got his toy stuck under the... hold on one sec. I'll be right back. Okay, dogs. Dogs are adorable, but holy cow. I got 3 of them in my house, and they're literally laying here while I record. Okay. So let's take a look at some of these symbols that we're going to be seeing here. All right, so for example, 13.1, we have, this is, if you're following along, by the way, I'm in Algebra 1, the third edition. I'm on page 58. And the example at the top looks like this. Okay, oh, see, I'm already messing it up. I should put my glasses on. You guys, when you get old, you need glasses. I need glasses. All right, so let's try that again. Oh wait, no, I did have that right. All right, so negative 3 minus 2, close that parenthesis. We got some other parentheses, negative 7 plus 4 minus 5. Let's close off that bracket, close off that brace, and do this. All right, so a bunch of garbage here that we got to work with, right? First things first, we're going to work our ways from the inside outside, start with those smallest forms of inclusion, okay? So those parentheses. So we've got these guys right here. Remember, we don't subtract, we add the opposite. Add, and then the opposite of positive 2, negative 2. Good. So right here, this guy, negative 3 and negative 2, they're on the same team. It's going to be negative 5. Negative 4 and, I'm sorry, negative 7 and 4 is going to be negative 3. So what I'm going to do is rewrite this whole problem now. Now that I've taken away these parentheses, you're going to see that I'm going to switch this from being a brace to a bracket. It doesn't matter if you don't. Really, I just have been doing this so many years, I instinctively do it. However, if you want to use braces and brackets until your heart's content, go ahead and do that. We're going to bring down this 2. And then the operation that's going on between here is multiplication. And you'll see that we have this huge bracket here. So, oh, see, I was wrong. I should have definitely done this. Let's do some braces. Let's do some brackets. And then we have negative 5. So you'll see that I just brought all of this stuff down right into here, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully. So I get negative 5 here. The operation that's going on right here is multiplication. Then we have negative 3. And notice I took those out of the parentheses. That's because I'm done with whatever's in the parentheses. So I'm done. Get those out of there. Minus 5, we're going to close our brackets. And you'll see that now I have no parentheses. So I guess I could have technically put a bracket here and parentheses here, but it takes some skill to get used to that. All right, so everything within these brackets now we have to do. And remember, we're going to still apply our rules of our order of operations. So we've got parentheses, exponents, all that. We've got to do our multiplication here before we do our addition subtraction. So we're going to rewrite the whole thing. And this time I am going to drop those braces because I don't like drawing them. 2, and then negative 5 and negative 3 is positive 15. So we've got positive 15 minus 5. And then we're going to close that off, minus 2. Good. Okay, so now it looks a little bit smaller and a little simpler, so we're just basically making it easier as we go along. We don't subtract, we add the opposite. 15 plus a negative 15 is going to give us a 10. So let's rewrite this guy now. We have 4 times, I'm going to move that back so I have some room. 4 times 2 times 10. So I just brought this guy down to here, this guy down to here, minus 2. Good. Now we're going to do those parentheses. This is 20, so we have 4 times 20. Again, see, I'm taking it out of those parentheses when I'm done. Minus 2. All right, 4 times 20 is 80 minus 2, which gives us 78. 78 should be your answer there. So essentially, the way to solve these, or simplify, we're not solving, we're simplifying because this is an expression, not an equation. The way to do this, copy down the exact problem, and then each step you want to kind of underline. Did you see where I was underlining what I was doing or indicating what I'm doing? The reason being is, as your teacher, if I'm looking at your test and I can see what you're thinking, I'm going to give you more points than if you just throw down an answer and it's wrong. So if you throw down an answer and it's wrong, but I can see the way you're thinking, I'm probably going to give you more points because the answer isn't nearly as important as getting a peek and a peek into your working brain. You know, I want to see how that brain of yours works. All right, so still on page 58, we're going to do 13.2. We've got negative 3. We got some braces. We got some brackets. Negative 2. Well, I'm copying this down. Kids, if you have braces, wear your retainer, because when I was 30, I had to have braces again because I did not wear my retainer. And you know what? Parents don't pay for braces when you're 30. So that's an expensive mistake. So if you've got some braces, definitely wear those. All right, that's my lecture for the day. Okay, so here's our problem. Again, we're gonna try to, so just like parentheses, let me back up and say a couple of things. Just like parentheses, this guy right here, those brackets are really just indicating that it's a negative number. The operation between here, if it's not indicated, is assumed to be multiplication. Again, we're going to want to do everything from the inside out. We don't subtract, we add the opposite. So let's at least correct our problem to add the opposite. Add the opposite. Okay, so negative 2 and negative 3 is going to give us negative 5. And I just like to write that up above. Oops, sorry about that. Just above, just so I'm making a note to myself when I'm rewriting it that it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, down here, 4 and negative 2 is going to give us 2. 4 and negative 2 is going to give us 2. Okay, so now we're ready to rewrite this problem. We have negative 3, we got some brackets here, and then this guy is negative 5. So we have to look at the whole brackets here. We're taking all this garbage in these brackets, multiplying it by that garbage. Well, this garbage equals negative 5 times that garbage, which is negative 2. So really, I didn't even need braces or brackets here. I could have used parentheses, but again, it's not a big deal. Negative 3, and there's no operation shown between here, so we assume that that's multiplication, just like this. And notice I'm doing everything on the top, everything on the bottom. You want to do that before you start mixing things up, okay? All right, so again, we still have to do this stuff that's in these braces or parentheses or whatever. So we get negative 3 times, and negative 5 times negative 2 is 10, over, and now at this time we can do this guy too, negative 6. So what we end up with is negative 30 over negative 6, because a negative times a positive is a negative. Now, those negatives, a negative divided by negative is going to be a positive, so we get a positive answer here, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. 30 divided by 6 is 5. I always double check my work on the answers, because I don't want you to have to come back and be like, Caitlin, you were wrong. Ah. All right, so, but we got that right. All right. I'm always worried I'm going to make a tiny error, and since I'm doing these by myself, I should have another student here who can correct me. So I don't want to make an error. Okay, so more on the order of operations. So let's take a peek at some of these. And I think these are just, I'm not going to go through all the notes that are in here because I think it's easiest if you just practice. Like, guys, you didn't just get on a bike one day and know how to ride a bike. You had to practice. You had to fall. You had to skin your knees. Same idea here. You're going to have to practice these, okay? And then you'll start to learn those rules. But it's really not going to help for me to just tell you the rules and be like, here's how you do it. So that's why we're going to do these things. The one thing I will tell you is this, though. You're going to sometimes see a line of numbers that we are multiplying. And in fact, if you turn to page 61, at the top there, 13.3, A, I'll put an A here. We've got a bunch of numbers. Guys, it's so much easier if you figure out the sign of your answer and then worry about doing the actual math part of it, okay? These guys have pluses in front of here. That's just indicating that it is a positive number. It's not typical for us to write a plus sign, but sometimes it's convenient, so I will do it, and sometimes the book does too. Again, between all these numbers, we're multiplying, all right? Again, if we can multiply in any order. So the big thing here is figure out your sign first, because otherwise it's going to be a pain. Here's how you do that. I want you to take some notes on this. Odd number of negatives equals negative. So you just put a little negative sign, right? Even number of negatives equals positive. And if you think about that, look at this case up here. We have 2 negative signs. 2 is an even number. So that means our answer is going to be positive. And that makes sense because negative times a negative is a positive, right? So we know our answer is going to be positive. And so I'm just going to put a positive sign there. Again, we don't normally write that, but it's convenient for right now. And we do the math on all of these guys, okay? So this times this is 30 times this is 60, right? Times 12. So 60 times 12, I'll write that right here. 60 times 12 is really 12 times 6 with an extra 0 on the end, right? So 6 times 12, I don't care that you don't memorize your 12s, by the way, but you do need to memorize your multiplication tables up to 10. 11s and 12s, I don't care about those. But so 6, so we get 72, but with that extra 0, it's 720. 720, not and, 720. All right, so just make sure that you've written this down in your notebook so that you've got those. Look at that, was a terrible bracket. See, told you. We gotta, or a brace, not a bracket. We gotta have a whole lesson on just how to draw those guys. Okay, so like I said, make sure you've written that down and put that in your notebook so that you've got that. All right, so looking at B, actually what I'm gonna do is put these here so you can see these guys. All right, so here are these guys right here, and I know the answers are right here. All right, so we look at this guy, we see that those are all positive numbers, therefore our answer is going to be positive. This guy right here has 1, 2, and 3 negative numbers. 3 negative numbers is odd. Odds are negative, so this answer is going to be negative. This guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. 5 is odd, therefore the answer is going to be negative. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th negative over here means that those are all going to be, and we don't worry about that subtraction quite yet, because this gets a little tricky. I would prefer that you get everything down to multiplication to figure it out. But for right now, that's 4. That's 4, so that's going to be positive, okay? So, good. Any questions on those guys? So, in fact, actually looking at this rule, I'm glad that we didn't do that. Let's talk about this guy right here. E. I'm sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. E. Let's look at this guy. They say that the rule doesn't apply, and I prefer that because it's very easy to make a mistake on this. Okay. Oh, let me back up that camera too. All right. So. Alrighty. So bonus time since I'm backing up the camera. I gotta fix this. That's my dog laying over there. Hopefully you see. And I got another one down there. So they're being quiet right now. All right. And I'm painting my house, so it's crazy. All right, so what we do here is we look at these. Remember I said chunks are broken up by addition, subtraction? We got 2 chunks here. We have this chunk right here and this. This is why that rule doesn't apply, because the addition could change things. So I really should have said it doesn't apply at the beginning. So scratch that. And if I knew how to fix my videos and adjust them, I would go back and write right over that. But sometimes we make mistakes, right? So this is an odd number, so it's going to be a negative number, right? So we know the answer is going to be negative because it's odd, 3. This times this is 12 times 2 is 24. Plus, and now we always do the stuff that's in our chunks first before we do adding and subtracting. So this guy right here is negative 6. That's going to give us negative 30 because they're on the same team, right? And now our team is 30 players long. So with that said, that rule doesn't really apply if you have chunks in here, okay? I want to make that clear. All right, so Let's look at, okay, so now what I want you to do is turn to page 61 if you haven't already, and I want you to make an attempt at those practice problems at the bottom here, A through E. A through E. So go ahead and pause the video, do those, come on back, and let's see if you've got it right when you come on back. In the meantime, let me just, there we go. There we go. Ooh, all right, guys, not technologically competent. Okay, we've got 3, we got some braces, we've got 2. Oh, all right, really quick, we're gonna talk about how to draw those braces. You basically do a hill, a peak, and another hill, okay? Hill, peak, hill, right? And then you go on and you become a math teacher, and then you learn how to really do it. Oh, all right, so 3, 2, then we got a brace here. We've got a -4 minus 3. We've got a -8 minus 2 minus 4. We got a bracket. We got a brace, hill, peak, hill. All right. So again, we start with our parentheses, right? So this garbage and this garbage. -4, we don't subtract, we add the opposite. So let's at least correct that so that we're adding the opposite, okay? So we have 3 brace. For the since you're learning how to do these, just bring down whatever the symbol of inclusion is, and it's okay if, yeah, it should be fine. So 2, and then we've got this guy, and now here we're doing everything that's in those parentheses, so we're gonna get rid of it, but we know that -4 and -7, they're on the, -7, I just gave you the answer. -4 and -3, they're on the same team, it's the negative team, and there are 7 of them. Here, -8, -2, same team, and there are 10 of them. So we come down here, and we bring that -7 down, and the operation going on between here is multiplication. We've got that -10 minus 4. All right, so now we have 3, and we have 2. Now we're gonna do within these braces here, or these brackets here, we gotta do that multiplication. So -7 times -10, which gives us +70 minus 4. All right, so bring everything else down around there. All right, now we're gonna be doing everything that's in here, so I'm taking it out of that inclusion. 70 minus 4 is 66, okay? So now we're gonna do this guy here. We know 66 times 2 is 2, carry the 1, that's 12, plus 1 more is 13, 132. So we have 3 times 132. So now let's multiply that by 3. We get 6 over here. 9 and 1. 1, wait, that can't be right. 3 times 1 is not 1, it is 3. 396. 396. Guys, if you do want to use a calculator, that's fine. The rule is, and I will emphasize this again in class, you can use a calculator if you don't use that negative button, okay? So on our calculators, you'll see that it's got this negative button right here, right? That negative button, don't use it because you either are adding or subtracting. I want you to figure out your sign first and then do the operation on the calculator. And until you have that down pat, you should not use a calculator. All right, so we'll talk about that in class. B, -3, we got some braces, we got a bracket, we've got a -4 minus 1. 3, oh, they're trying to trick us here, putting that loose number at the end there. That's annoying. Oh, all divided by 2, 4 minus 7, 4 minus 7. Okay, so again, we want to do everything on the top, everything on the bottom, and then we worry about dividing or moving things around after that. So let's worry about this top thing. We want to work from the inside out, right? So we're going to do this guy here, but we don't add, or I'm sorry, we don't subtract, we add, and then the opposite is -1. So -4 and -1, they're on the same team, and it's now 5 big. This operation between here is multiplication, and typically, I'm gonna rewrite this, it looks like this, right? Typically you see numbers like this at the front. So that was why I was like, oh, they're trying to trick you, but it's still multiplication. So we have -3, brace, bracket, and then I did everything in this parentheses, so I'm gonna take it out of those parentheses, times 3, and I'm gonna close my bracket, -5, got some braces here. Now I can do stuff on the bottom too. This is add the opposite, forgot to do that. 2 times, and 4 and -7, the negative team is larger, and by how many? -3. All right, So I'm gonna do a little equal sign over here, so otherwise I run out of boardroom. So -3, we got some of those guys. So now we gotta do this stuff that's in here, right? -5 times 3 is -15 minus 5 gives us -6. -6. All right, so we don't, so see, these little hills and peaks are not necessary. All right, so we don't subtract, we add the opposite, and the opposite of that is -5. So this garbage right here is going to be -20, because they're on the same team, -20, right? Leave me with my new camera. Woo, there we go. So this guy's gonna be -20, so I'm going to put that over here. -3, and the operation going on between here is multiplication. So -20, all divided by -6. Negative times a negative, there are 2 of them. 2 is even, so it's gonna be positive. 60 over -6. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. 60 divided by 6 is 10. So -10. All right, so that was B. Let's take a look at C. All right, guys. So looking at C here, we've got -2, -2, -3, -3. Pause that video and see if, oh, look at that. I can't even record. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so pause the video if you need to. I want you to do this answer, but we take a look at it. All right, so negative, 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 negative. There are 4 negatives. 4 is even. When they are even, they are positive. So our answer is going to be positive. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So got that down. 4 times 9 is 36. 36. Good. D looks like this. This is a different way of writing these guys. And folks, when you see this, remember how I said that mathematicians are lazy? We certainly are. Okay. Oh, that was a terrible one. Don't judge me on that. There we go. I told you I can do these perfect. Those not so much. All right, guys. So mathematicians hate writing the number 1. So when you see a negative just hanging out loose like that, there's actually a 1 there, but we just don't like to write it, right? So this guy is really the equivalent of -1 times -1 times -1 times -2, but working our way outwards, right? It would be -2 times -1, which would give us a positive, times a negative, which would give us a negative, times another negative, which would give us a positive. But instead of going through that, just ask yourself, 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives means even number 4 is even, therefore the answer is going to be positive. And then 2 times 1 times 1 times 1 is just 2. Okay. E, you don't have to solve it for E. They just want you to figure out if it is a positive or negative number. Positive or negative number. I'm going to do that thing where I zoom it down again. Let's see. All right. I'm learning, kids. I'm learning. All right. So I do need a pencil, though. How am I a math teacher with no pencils? Right handy. Oh, good gravy. All right. So we're looking at this guy right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives. 7 is an odd number, so the answer to this guy is going to be negative. Okay, excellent. I just didn't want to write that whole thing down. All right, so give the rest of those a shot, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, I was just trying to figure out my software, so I have to pause. I just learned the pause button, so I'm sorry. So if you have any questions, look at that, so I can jam between 2 screens. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm excited to work with you. Order of operations is one of my favorites because I feel like it's solving puzzles, sort of. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you for our next lesson. Thank you so much.